Welcome to Microsoft Teams for Educators. In the summer of 2020, the IT department began a migration, starting with Microsoft 365 as a way to replace OWA. Multiple users were given the option to migrate to Microsoft Office 365. Teams is part of that migration. By December of 2020, all faculty and staff should have Teams installed. At first glance, the team environment can be a little overwhelming, but we all need to remember that the purpose of Teams is for collaboration. The initial adoption is to replace Lync, which will be retired by Microsoft in July of 2021. The Teams environment can be overwhelming, but hopefully this video will break it down into manageable pieces and give you a clearer understanding of how Teams works. When we think about Microsoft Teams, we should think about the word Teams and that it's a collaboration between people. Teams inside Microsoft Teams can be broken down in a variety of ways depending on the needs for your school. You could have it by school, department, content areas, grade levels, working groups, whatever your school needs to make Teams work for them. There are four main features of Teams. It's the ability to co-author and collaborate, share documents and files, have a virtual meeting space, and within the Teams, there's the call and chat function. Just to note, the call and chat function is also available outside the team as a separate environment. We always need to be cognizant of the part that while the entire environment is called Microsoft Teams, within that we have a piece called a team. Teams have four parts. There's the overall team, where the whole group gets together. Inside the team are specific channels made for a variety of purposes. In a little while, I'm going to show you an example of how you can create channels. Inside channels are tabs. Tabs are for specific files, websites, other items you may need for that channel. Inside the team, there's also a chat environment. Inside each channel, there's also a chat environment. And just to reiterate, chats can also be done outside a specific team. I mentioned earlier that in the summer of 2020, the migration began for Microsoft 365. Multiple users in Dodea have the Microsoft 365 online. They have a variety of different options. If you were not part of the full migration, you have the partial migration, which includes the Teams environment. But remember, by December of 2020, all faculty and staff will have Teams. To talk a little bit more about the difference, in the Microsoft 365 versus the people who just have the Teams piece, there are meetings. All users, whether they have Microsoft 365 or Teams, can use the meeting feature. You can have up to 250 users, and in that environment, they can collaborate. All participants can share documents, share screens, and talk. They have the ability to use their mics. An additional feature in Microsoft 365 is live events. You can think of live events as a presentation. That means that the participants will not interact, only the presenters. You can have up to 10,000 people attend a live event. A link can be sent out and users from all different places can join your live event. This chart explains a little more about the differences between a live event and a meeting. When IT began the Microsoft 365 migration, they created a website on the Dodea website. It has a multitude of tutorials, training resources, and recordings of various webinars across Dodea. It has valuable resources that you can use with your teachers to reference and present so they can learn more about Teams. One of the handiest charts they have, it references the difference between Google and Microsoft 365. The big aha moment for Google versus 365 is this. Google Suite, G Suite, is used for educators to collaborate with students. Microsoft 365 is for collaboration between educators and administrators and other staff across Dodea. So if we think about Google G Suite for students and Microsoft 365 between educators, that should help clarify the differences. Let's talk a little bit more about chat in Teams. Microsoft breaks down the Teams environment into two pieces. We have the Me space on the left, where we have a variety of icons that we can click to access different parts of the team. If you are not fully migrated, the parts that work are activity, chat, and Teams. Assignments, calendar, and so on will be accessible later on once we have a full migration. While some of these may function in part, they will fully function once you're fully migrated. In the center space, we call that the We space. Remember, we called the bar on the left the Me space. The center is called the We space. This is where you collaborate. This is where you'll see your teams, your past chats and your new chats. Here's an example of a chat window. If you look, you'll see there again is the Me space, the menu. In here are past chats. You'll see that you can do it by groups and by individuals. If you attend a meeting or you're part of a meeting, you can see the chat from that meeting at any time. Over in the upper right, you'll see an icon for your profile. This is where you can set up how you look and how you interact on Teams. Let's talk a little bit more about Teams in Microsoft Teams. As you know, Teams is broken up into two spaces. There's the Me space, which is the bar on the left, and then the We space, which is the center part of the screen. In the We space, you can see that I have multiple teams listed. I have local teams for my district, I have regional teams, and I also have headquarters teams. These teams have a variety of different users. They have served different purposes. I'm going to show you today how the Pac West ETs use their team. This team was created for the Pac West ETs who are located in South Korea and Guam. In the team, we have 5 different channels. We have the general channel. We have one for elementary ETs, one specifically for the Guam ETs, one for Korea ETs, and one for the middle high ETs. The channels are used for different reasons. We created them for different purposes such as focused collaboration, professional learning, and other sharing of ideas, collaboration that the ETs might need them for. Across the top, you'll see the tabs. We have posts. This is a channel where we all chat and talk about different issues that may have come up. We can also call a meeting at a last minute for the team. The next tab is the Files tab. This tab has obviously different files that we need for ET meetings, hardware, ISTE standards, if we're working on a project together, such as the teacher teams training. We also have a OneNote notebook we use as the ET handbook. Other tabs connect us to some of our digital resources. So we have a tab for the ISTE site, the International Society of Technology and Education, and that's our organization that we use as a reference tool. I have adopted the standards in Dodea from this organization, and we have lots of other uses that we go to this site for. One more site tab we have listed is the K-12 digital resources for Dodea. Going back to the channels, I want to talk a little more about the tabs. In our general channel, we have a tab called Files. The Files tab contains lots of different information we have for a variety of purposes. We have a folder for ET meetings, which includes our agenda and any documents that go along with the meeting of the day. For example, if you look, we have this meeting. Not only do we have the agenda, we have different files for other information that the ETs may be interested in and they may need a copy of. One more time, you make sure you follow the breadcrumbs back. I'm going to General, and now you'll see we have come back to the main files page. The other 3 files contain different documents for different projects or different information. The Teachers Team Training Docs has a variety of different documents inside that teachers have been creating, ETs have been creating for the teacher training. If you look, you'll see modified by multiple users. These documents can be collaborative, meaning that people can work on them simultaneously and be in the same document at the same time. That is a great tool because now not only do you have the collaborative piece, but you have the power of all the Microsoft programs. Going to the general channel, we also have an ET handbook. This is made using OneNote. In the beginning of the school year, in the past, the ETs received a checklist from the district ET that incorporated multiple items they need to be aware of for the beginning of the school year. This year, with the onset of Teams, we've created a OneNote handbook that will include not only the welcome back, but it will contain other items of interest for ETs to help them complete the work at their schools. The way we've designed it is under a tab. You'll see, we call this a section actually. It's called Welcome Back. Inside, there's a variety of different pages for different items that the ETs may need to look at. One of the pages, for example, is for the ASL ACL, which is the approved software list and the approved cloud list and Chrome extensions. We have embedded a link. We have different items of interest that we've written in there. We can also put in a link to an upload a document that they may need. For example, here on the internet agreement, not only have we written information, we've also added a PDF of the actual internet agreement. So there's a variety of ways that you can use a OneNote notebook. As we create teams, we want to be cognizant of the fact that it can get pretty unwieldy. We can get multiple teams for multiple purposes and teams that have the same purpose if we're not careful. We need to keep teams to a minimum, and inside teams is where you can create a variety of channels. As you saw in the PacWest ET users, we had one overall team, and inside we had channels for multiple purposes. Other tips for teams: you should always have at least 2 owners of a team, and 3 is ideal. If you have emails that you want to send out or information, that's fine. You can still send it through Outlook, but a good way to think is to actually put those emails or put that information also in the files or the posting part of the team. You want to start thinking about if you want to talk to a specific individual or answer a question in a chat that has multiple users using the @ And if you see here, it says @mentioning. I might put someone's name like @John Smith. And that way that person knows that they've been mentioned in Teams and can address the question or the answer that's posted. Lastly, Teams is a cultural shift. It creates its own culture, and as we begin to use and migrate to Teams, the more you use it, the more people will go to it and address items in Teams. Meetings in Teams is a great environment that you can use. You can create a meeting for Teams in Outlook. You can create a meeting in Teams within a channel or a team. You can see here's an example of channels for the Pine Valley Academic Department. At the bottom, you'll see online meetings, and there's a camera icon. The camera icon denotes that a meeting is taking place. Microsoft Teams also has a variety of options that you can use to create an environment that is conducive for how you want to conduct your meeting. There's multiple drop-down menus with different choices and different functions for each meeting. In the actual meeting environment, you'll see a row of icons across the top. The first one is Take Control. This is where you can request control of the presenter or another member's computer. It will only take control of the person who is currently presenting. You can see who the participants are. You can look at the chat. You can raise your hand. The kebab will take you to other options and functions for the meeting. And then we have the camera on off, the mute, and how to share your screen. And lastly is how to come and go from the meeting. Under each of these, you'll see device settings, meeting options. You have the ability as the presenter to turn off incoming video. You can record the meetings. You can stop and start the recordings based on your need. Here's a little more about requesting control. You can help others to demonstrate skills. You may be in a one-on-one chat with someone or a one-on-one meeting, and they're having trouble with their computer. You can request control to take over their computer and run their mouse for them to see if you can help them and assist them with an issue. Lastly, audio in a meeting. This is a great function. If you want to show a video within your meeting, you can take the audio from your computer and project it through the meeting. So if you have a YouTube video that you want to share, you can do that. So all members can hear the sound. These are just a few of the many functions available in Microsoft Teams. In the coming months, we'll be seeing more options become available as the migration continues. If you need more information, contact your educational technologist about Teams.